Just see myself in this. I love virtual pets. For some that may relate with me on my first experience with virtual pets, I had the virtual pet named Pooh. He was very adorable. You got to feed him, clothe him, bathe him, and just listen to the silly noises that he made. But for those in the earlier years before Pooh, they had something that was more physical, more handheld. And I'm talking about Tamagotchi. I love Tamagotchis, and although I didn't start out with them when they first came out, probably because I wasn't born yet, I started pretty late on Tamagotchis, and after a few months of having them, I was pretty hooked. How hooked, you may ask? Only a little bit. Nothing beats real life pets, of course. I, for one, have a handful of them, and I adore them very much. But that's not what I'm talking about today, even though I would love to talk about them because I love them. No, today we're just going to be talking about Tamagotchis. On the subject of Tamagotchis, we're going to be talking about what they are, how they came to be, and the generations of Tamagotchis that there are. I know, surprising, there are generations of Tamagotchis, but when you look into it, it's actually pretty fascinating on the variations that they have made throughout the years. Picture it, Japan, 1996. Bandai, a division under Bandai Namco, released a new handheld toy called Tamagotchi. The official release date was November 23rd, 1996, in Japan, and it wasn't until May 1st, 1997, when it was released worldwide. This handheld toy was popular among high school girls, and maybe boys who probably had one in secret. Who knows? And according to the official Tamagotchi website, it sold over 100 million units as of July 2025. There have been many generations of Tamagotchis, and while I didn't play a lot of them and started late on them, I still love them a lot and currently care for 4 of them at the moment. Trying to get a 5th one. This moment, I'd like to talk about each of the generations of Tamagotchis, explain them, and talk about the ones that I have. From my research, I know that Bandai has delved into other forms of media, such as video games, animations, etc., but today we're kind of focusing just on the physical toys. I know as far as the mainline handhelds that Bandai has made for Tamagotchis, there are other ones such as the Nanos that have uh, licensed characters in them, and as far as I'm aware, all they do. I don't know if that picked that up, but just my child just grew up. Where did he go? Anyway, as I was talking about them, there's Tamagotchi Nanos, which have licensed characters, and as far as I'm aware, they're just for display. So I'm mainly just talking about the mainline ones, the ones that you can pretty much interact with. The story behind Tamagotchi starts like this, and this is from the official website. Tamagotchi characters are life forms that live on Tamagotchi Planet, a planet far away from Earth. After their discovery on Earth in 1996, billions of Tamagotchi characters have been raised by people across the world. I love how there's an origin story on how they came to be. It just makes it more personal and can make a pretty cute story to tell for those who don't know about them. When I had a couple of mine with me, I'd talk to people who asked about them and would talk about the stories of them. With that being said, let's talk about Generation 1 and 2 of Tamagotchi. Now, Generation 1 and 2 have minor differences between the two. They're very similar, but I'll still mention the key differences. This is a Tamagotchi. Its simple egg-shaped design comes in many colors of the shells. It's got 3 basic buttons. You got the A button, the B button, and the C button. And as far as the mechanics go, you have 8 different mechanics. First, there's food, which you feed them either food or a snack. There's lights when they want the lights turned off when they're ready to go to bed. There's games when you can play a mini game with them to raise their happiness. Medicine when they're feeling sick so that they can take medicine to feel better. The toilet when you clean up after them when they poop on the floor. waits to show you their weights and their age. Then they're scolding them when they do something bad. And the last one is just to alarm you when they want attention, whether they're hungry or they want to play a game. From what I've researched about Generation 1 and 2, really the differences between the first and second generations is just the variations of Tamagotchis that you raise and the foods that they eat. Now, there's a couple ones in between Generation 2 and 3, like Tamagotchi Ocean, where you take care of the Tamas underwater, and a Santa Claus one themed for the holidays, which I find that kind of silly but cute at the same time. Its name is Tamagotchi for the Christmas one. He kind of looks like Santa. I don't know who thought of him, but I guess we needed him. On to Generation 3, which I think is really adorable, but also bittersweet, and you'll see why once I tell you the story about it. Tamagotchi Angel is the third generation of the virtual pet, and the story behind this is the angels of the past Tamagotchis that were cared for come back to Earth from Tenchichi capital of Tamagotchi Planet, their home, and they spend more time with their original caretakers. They thank you for giving them good lives, but they can't stay for too long as they have to go back home soon, so you raise them to do good deeds and prevent them from being devils. This is such an adorable yet bittersweet part of Tamagotchi because you get to take care of the Tamagotchi that passed away and teach them good, but they also have to leave once more to be back home. My experience when I got one was bittersweet when I raised my angel, because when it was time for them to go home, they cried and waved goodbye as they fly back to their planet, and it shows twinkling stars at the end. It really is bittersweet, but when you get into taking care of Tamagotchis and seeing that, it makes you feel good that you got to be with them once more for a bit longer. Alright, let's move on to the next generation. In March of 2004 in Japan and August internationally, Bandai would release Tamagotchi Connection. This was like the original generations of Tamagotchi, but they introduced infrared technology so that you can connect a pair together and interact with one another. To me, this was a big jump in the handheld toy, and was also the first time you can connect and interact with a pair. Throughout the years, they released multiple versions of the Connection, which added online interaction through their website called Tamatown. They also introduced physical collectibles to go with the Connection, which were pretty cute. Sadly, the website is down, so you wouldn't be able to use the online function of it, but the handheld itself is still playable, and was re-released in 2024 for their 20th anniversary. While the IR functionality was pretty big at the time, this next generation of Tamagotchis was a massive change for the handheld for years to come. On November 22nd, 2008, Bandai introduced to Japan the first colored display Tamagotchi. Its name? Tamagotchi Plus Color. This was huge, as it gave the caretakers a new view of seeing their Tamas, while also adding in new gameplay features. Unfortunately, international consumers wouldn't be receiving these until 2019, named Tamagotchi On, or Meets in Japan. Within this generation of Tamagotchis, there are 10 different variations, with a few in the later years that I personally consider its own generation, as it had more functions than the normal ones would have. You'll see later as to why. The first one being Tamagotchi Plus Color, which was the first iteration of their color display Tamagotchis. The second one on the color series is the Tamagotchi ID. It was the first Tamagotchi to have downloadable items, accessories, wallpapers, and games via the infrared built in the Tamagotchi from its own website, Tama ID, and had a later designated home station for it. There were also new destinations, guest characters, and features, such as the ability to wear the accessories. The third iteration of the color series Tamagotchis is the Tamagotchi Ps. They were released on November 23, 2012, and it was the very first Tamagotchi to have a slot for attachable pins, which they call pierces. Various pierces were released with exclusive content for each one, and although this was Japanese only, I have seen that there was a patch made which enabled users to change the language to English with one of the pierces. And they've also made downloadable versions of them, including custom ones. Next one on the list is the Tamagotchi 4U. It was the same as the previous Tamagotchis, but with this one, the new thing with it is that it used NFC instead of the infrared communication. This also had a mobile app that was released for certain smartphones with NFC capabilities, which allowed you to connect to it and provide the 4U with additional downloadable content. Next up on the list is the Tamagotchi Mix, which was released on July 16th, 2016. This introduced the Mix feature, which allowed the user to create Tamagotchi offspring that were a mix of the parents' features. It also saw the return of the infrared connection to the virtual pets. And finally, we get to the first colored international release of a Tamagotchi known as Tamagotchi On, released in July 2019. Similar to the Tamagotchi Mix, this was also one of the first Tamagotchis to feature character feature mixing after marriage. This also had an app that would connect with it called My Meets. It would connect to your smartphone via Bluetooth, but unfortunately has been taken down. Alright, now that we got all of those out of the way, it's now time that I explain, in my opinion, the latest generation of Tamagotchis. The first one I'll be talking about is Tamagotchi Pix. It was a Tamagotchi handheld released in 2021 that had a built-in camera, which gave you the ability to take augmented reality, or AR, pictures with your Tama. That's cute. I like the idea that I could take a picture with my Tama as if I were to hold it in my hand. If I had one! The next one on the list is the Tamagotchi Smart. It was the first smartwatch model of the generation that was only released in Japan in 2021. This upcoming Tamagotchi that I currently have, and I'm so glad to have it because it's one that I've consistently kept up with, and I even have a story on how I got this one. It's the Tamagotchi Uni. This is the Tamagotchi Uni. Similar to the other Tamagotchis, this one allows you to connect to the internet to meet with other players that have it around the world, and I think it was really cool that I would be able to meet up with others just so that I can connect with them. So the story of how I got my Tamagotchi Uni was one day I was researching to see if they had made any new Tamagotchis, and lo and behold, the Tamagotchi Uni was displayed right in front of me. Excited as I was, I looked everywhere to see if I could find one to get my hands on one, and unfortunately they didn't have any in the stores, so I wasn't able to just go to a store and pick one up. So I looked on Amazon to see if they had one, and the one that I wanted, the blue one, they wanted $200 for it. $200 for the blue one, which retailed regularly, I believe, was $60. And so I was pretty surprised on how that was looking. So I had went to a website that I go to, Buy, which I really love, by the way. I have gotten a lot of stuff from them. I had looked online through them and saw that I can get one through them for the retail price, and immediately got it as soon as I could. And after a few weeks of waiting from shipping, I finally got my hands on one and have been taking care of the current Tamagotchi I have for more than 2 months. And now it comes down to the last and current Tamagotchi that we have, and it's really innovative with how you interact with them. The Tamagotchi Paradise. Similar to all the other Tamagotchis, this one featured a larger shell, the same 3 buttons, and a little knob on the top right of it. What is this knob for, you may ask? Well, you use this knob to be able to zoom in from the planet all the way to your Tamagotchi, all the way to the cellular level of your Tamagotchi, and you use this to see their hunger level and their happiness. That is the craziest thing that I've ever heard of, and I did not know that we needed it, but I am all for it, and it is just so much fun. Another thing to add is that you're not just taking care of the Tamagotchi, but you take care of the planet itself that the Tamagotchis that you raise live on, and you can decorate how that planet looks. And as you progress through raising your Tamagotchis, the planet expands so you can have different fields to raise your Tamagotchis on, which just adds so much more to the original Tamagotchis, and just adds a lot of replay value to it, in my opinion. The Tamagotchi Paradises do come in different colors, such as the blue, pink, green, and purple ones, the green being released later. Another cool feature to add about the Tamagotchi Paradise is that it has a connector on the top of it. And what that means is that you can connect two of the Tamagotchi Paradises together and have the two Tamagotchis interact with each other. Kind of like Tamagotchi Connection, but this is more of a physical connection, which I still love to this day. And when I first did this, I was so excited because I had never gotten the chance to do that until I got my second one. And it was just so cool to see that happen. But not only that, there is a special evolution to it where if you connect one of the Tamagotchis to two other different ones, it gives you the special Tamagotchi, which is the special version for that Tamagotchi itself. And that's it. That was all the Tamagotchis that Bandai Namco have made. Now, again, I know that there are other ones, but like I said, I was focusing more on the interactive mainline ones. So, what do I think about these generations of Tamagotchis? In my opinion, I love how there's a story behind the Tamagotchis, and that with each generation of the Tamagotchis that got released, they just added new features and playability to them that made it more interactive with the Tamagotchis. It's just fun to me. Like it's great. I know when getting into Tamagotchis, I got into them pretty late, and as of making this video, I currently am taking care of 4 of them, with a 5th on the way, hopefully. I know how it's a lot to take care of a Tamagotchi, and it is time consuming, but it's worth it to me. It's a lot of fun, it passes the time, and it's not really like playing a video game. You're actually sitting there and taking care of something. It even gives me a chance to tell silly stories to my mom about them, which she calls her grandbabies, which I find adorable. If you're watching this right now, hi mom, I love you. To me, playing with the Tamagotchis and researching all of the generations of Tamagotchis and putting a lot of time into researching them, it just goes to show that how much I care about them. And I'm sure a lot of other people do too. So hopefully, this video gives you an idea of the history of Tamagotchis. And who knows, maybe you might get one too. The Tamagotchi Paradises are easily available at Walmart from what I've seen, and they still carry the re releases of the original first, second, and third generations. So give it a shot. Why not? It's a lot of fun. And if you're out there on Tamagotchi Uni, interact with the other people. It's just a lot of fun.